So we'll start by looking at what values are. And simply put, there's a set of principles, standards, or qualities that an individual or a group of people hold dear. Simple. And then what are values and what they are not? Let's start with what they are not. They are not rules and regulations. They are not policies. They are not taglines. They are not commandments. They are not goals. Even though your goals should be derived from your values.
Sorry, can you repeat that? So they are not rules. They are not policies.
They are not regulations. They are not policies. They are not taglines. They are not commandments. They are not goals or aspirations. However, your goals must be derived from your values. And I know somebody will say, but we talked about goals yesterday. Yes. Mm-hmm. So you've been thinking about those goals and wanting to set certain goals for yourself. You must now come back, look at what your value system is and how that will help you solidify your goals. Okay, so we talk about, I said there are no rules and regulations. A rule, for example, in your home could be no watching television on weekdays. That could be a simple rule. Mm-hmm. It is not a value. A value for that rule could be continuous improvement.
Okay.
So you don't want to waste your time or waste the time, because time is all we have really when you think about it. It's the most important resource to anybody. So in order not to waste your time and to be able to continuously improve yourself, you don't watch TV, especially on weekdays. So, but that's a rule. The value, once again, is continuous improvement. Mm-hmm. You can say respect. And respecting that particular value or that particular rule could also be derived from the value integrity. Okay. So, for example, if my children or your children decide that irrespective of parental guidance, they will respect that rule, they're being true to something, and that's integrity.
Which is another value.
Which is a value. Mm. Okay, so you can say, for example, that no dating before a certain age. Mm-hmm. That's a rule. Morality is the value for such a rule, or that will help the young man or woman adhere to such a principle or guideline. Mm-hmm. So let's assume that you're a driver and the value that you want to live by is respect. How do you demonstrate it? We'll come to that, but just to give you an example, how do you demonstrate it? Mm-hmm. Simply put, before you go and take any client, you make sure that your car is well cleaned, the person is well cleaned, and also you get there on time. Mm-hmm. Not 5 minutes after, not before. You can get there about 10 to 15 minutes on time. Mm. That's on time. Not at 10. Okay, so that the person knows you're there and comes in and they can arrive at their destination on time. Mm-hmm. You can do more than you're expected to do in any given circumstances. Okay. And then for spiritual or Christian values, you can also say that you can do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And this particular value cuts across work or any other part of the wheel of life, which we'll come to later. Now, why is it so important to have values? For individuals, since I was very mindful not to leave you out, it provides all of us a choice-centered living. We hear so often, I don't have a choice. Everybody has a choice. Mm. We have a choice in everything we do. It just must be guided by something. So
it provides a choice-centered life, choice-centered living.
Yes.
Interesting.
It gives us a strong sense of self, which is not prideful, but doesn't need validation most times. You become intentional in the decisions that you make.
Hold on, I like that. A strong sense of self, which is not prideful, but yet doesn't need validation.
Yes. We oftentimes like to look to people to validate any action or inaction that we take. Mm. And that's usually because we haven't thought about the value that's guiding that decision. Okay. So once you're very rooted in your values, you hardly need validation for any decision you make. Mm. But it also doesn't make you proud. As a matter of fact, when you live with values, it makes you very humble. Mm. So it helps you also to stay in awareness of your environment. Who am I? Juxtapose it with who I am with or the group of people around me and how do I behave in order to make sure that I am living my value. It also puts us in a state of preparedness. So you're never surprised. It doesn't mean that you don't have fun or every aspect of your life must be scheduled. It just basically puts you in that state of preparedness at all times. Mm-hmm. For a family, one of the things I want to emphasize is that it gives us a sense of unity. It invokes that power of unity and agreement in a family. So it's very difficult for external influences to penetrate. And it shapes the behavior, goals and objectives and visions which I've talked about. It also brings about a sense of security.
Wow.
So going back to, in summary, we have to always remember that how we behave is a reflection of our beliefs. Our beliefs are a reflection of our values, making it absolutely critical, if you will, to have values that guide our daily existence. Wow. Imagine, Bernard, if you had, you found yourself in a relationship with somebody who loves trees, and you log trees for a living. You are equally yoked. You always have issues. So your values will be misaligned. You'll
be clashing.
All the time. The one thing to be cautious about, though, is that they're your values, is what you have to remember. And we have multiple realities. So you don't impose your values on people.
Don't impose your values on people.
No, you decide that you want values to live by. Live by them and influence people, but do not impose your values on people. It's important that you don't.
This is interesting. So influence people, but don't impose.
No.
Don't impose values on people.
Okay, so if, for example, you're going into a contractual relationship with somebody, you must agree on a certain set of principles or values that will guide that relationship so that it's easy to, at all times, go back and iron out your differences, if you will. Now, okay.
Yeah, you said something earlier, that values influence behavior, something like that. So there's a chain. So the value is the foundation.
Yes.
And then it influences action.
Yes.
And then, okay, cool. You go on.
Okay. So now we're looking at the development, the actionable steps to take in developing a set of family values or individual values, if you will. First of all, you need to make the decision to have values. Like I said, this is not an imposition. It's very helpful, but you must make the decision to have a value or have a set of values guiding you. For families, it is important that you schedule a family meeting. And I know people from Richard to Lucy, almost everybody has mentioned this. If you have a family, everybody must be involved. So schedule the meeting, talk about it, talk about every aspect of it. This is where you go back to the wheel of value. What is really important to you? What is really important to you? What have you used so far to make decisions? And how far has it brought you? And be very honest with yourselves. So talk about some of the things to contemplate, to ponder over. Set a date to reconvene and go over what is important for one another or the different members of the family. And after this, you come back and then have defined the set of values that you would want as a family. So number one is that you decide. You must make a decision to have or to not have. Number two is that you've gone your individual separate ways to think through what it is, after you've decided, what it is that you want, you find very important as a person. You come back and then you do it together as a family. It's a discovery phase.
Okay.
And sometimes it's amazing what you find about family members that you think you'd have known or you know so well. So it's a discovery phase. So you ask yourself, it's important that you don't argue once again. You listen to one another and respect one another's vision. There's no right or wrong answers. You're just brainstorming and you're sharing families and creating traditions that will help your generation, the generations to come. So as a family, who do you want to serve, for example? What are the unique traits that you want your family to communicate to the rest of the world, to yourselves and the rest of the world? What benefit do you want this to have on the world? Begin to imagine, find themes that are emerging throughout the conversation. Write these down. If you're high-tech, use flip charts, etc. You can even use your computer. You can use a flip chart, but everybody must be involved. Give everybody a task. So you've gone through this process of discovery, then you define. Remember that the process of discovery is coming from the individual to the collective. So in defining, now you're defining for the collective, which is the family. This is where you must be very detailed and very honest and check people's thoughts and thinkings and what they say for clarity. Because we talk a lot. I always say we speak. Because we speak, we think we're communicating, but we're always not communicating. So it doesn't hurt to ask somebody, what do you mean? Or if I'm understanding you, this is what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you go through, you delve into such conversation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's assume that the family defines respect as one of their values. They're going to have to think through it later to decide what it looks like, how they live it. Does my understanding of respect make sense to you? Do you even buy into it? Mm-hmm. Because we have different love languages too that we speak. So we must do all of this in relation to the bigger picture of what family is and what the individuals are. Okay. So that's 3. As part of defining, we talked about, as a family, how do you express feelings of anger, disagreement, excitement? If you're angry, is it okay to hit? How important is family time to you? Are manners still okay or are they extinct? You must talk about all these things as a family. You talk about winning, for example, being a value, or team spirit, individuality. If you talk about winning, what does it mean to you? Do you have to go and purchase examination papers to win at all cost? Is that what it looks like to you? So people must, then it puts you in that state of preparedness is what I talked about. So if you want to win at all times, you've discussed it. For you, then it probably is not about going to purchase examination papers. So you prepare ahead of time so you don't find yourself wanting. Still on defining, what are some of the key qualities and characteristics that you want to influence? How do you want to be perceived as a daughter? Remember, you have different roles that you play as a person, which is why I'm sending people back to the wheel of life. Because you have different aspects of your life and stages of your life. So you've put together all your values. You found answers to them. Do you stop there? It really would be nice sometimes. It's difficult work, but it would be nice if we could just walk into the store, the drugstore, and just buy tablets of empathy, responsibility. Sometimes it would be easy, but this is work, and you must decide. That's why you have to, first of all, make the decision, and then go through that process of discovery before defining. Then we go to the 4th step, which is to develop. So we've put all these things together. Now what do? You study your values that you've put together as a family. The top 7 maybe, however many you've put. And I like pen and paper. So for purposes of those of you who are not here, I'm trying to make a drawing for Bernard. But you have a sheet of paper and you split it and you put your value up top so you can put respect. Let's assume respect is one of them. Then on the left side, you can put what does it really look like. On the right side, what does it sound like? So under what it looks like, if I'm taking respect, it means being on time. We've talked about that earlier. It means paying attention to what is important, because that will help you to be respectful of everything that you do. Taking care of one another's property, for example, maybe what respect looks like to a family. Eating with manners. Doing simple chores. So for you as a family, maybe this is what is important and this is what respect looks like to you. This set of things that it looks like to you may be a little bit different from other families. And that's okay. So now, what does it sound like? How may I help you? Okay. For example, asking and not telling. So you're validating assumptions. You say words, kind words to one another. You talked about that much earlier today during your inspirational talk.
Oh, okay. You heard that too.
Yes, I did. So saying I am sorry and meaning it. Because sometimes we say these things and we don't mean them. And then people must matter to you, or you must be genuinely interested in things. So this is how you go through the process.
So you split the sheet. How does it look like? How does it sound like?
Yeah.
Respect. How does it look like? It looks like doing things on time, paying attention, taking care, eating with manners. Sounds like words like how may I help you? So this is a very difficult. It's like you're going to write exams. So
it's fun. You can make it fun.
Is it?
Yes, it's fun. You can, Bernard.
So that's on develop the values.
That's development of the values. So it's a simple process or a fun process But you must go through the time and take it as a family time. We're not spending, most of us are not spending enough time with the family now. So take it as a time that you spend with the family, so you have a little bit of fun. You can add drinks to it. You can do anything you want, but make sure it's fun and productive.